And you said it's a half hour?
Yes.
Are you going to remind me or shall I set an alarm?
I'll probably just give you like this for so you have 5 minutes.
Perfect.
I don't
Perfect.
know if you can see me okay, but
Yeah, I see you fine.
okay, perfect. Okay, so that's what I'll do. I'll just give you a little 5 minute warning. Do you want me to give you a 1 minute warning too? Or are you okay?
I should be okay with a five.
Okay, one more second here.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
It really is. All right, we're gonna go live now. Hello, and welcome to Empower Hour Twilight. We are so excited to have you here today. We are so excited to have so many wonderful, phenomenal, empowered women a part of Empower Hour, and we are growing by the moment. And I just want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for making that a reality. Today we have a phenomenal speaker, and I'm super excited to hear her speak. Her name is Shirlene Reeves. She's a PhD award-winning speaker, four-time award-winning author, business success mentor, recently selected as a top business coach and motivational speaker of the year for 2020 by the International Association of Top Professionals for her outstanding leadership, dedication, and commitment to the industry. As a dynamic, results-driven leader, she was recognized internationally in 2019 by the Women's Economic Forum as the Exceptional Woman of Excellence. She is amazing in so many different ways, and I'm so excited to hear her talk. Her title and what she's going to be speaking about today specifically is Resolving Negative Emotions for Mental Peace. How would your life be different if your emotions weren't running the show? Which is huge right now for most of us over the whole 2020 year. So please help me welcome the beautiful Shirlene.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me today. I'm really looking forward to being with you and sharing a little bit of information that I hope will really make a difference in the lives that you want to empower. I think that's so important, and I love what you're doing. So I thought I'd just share with you today how to get control of your mind. That, with all of my clients, that is who comes to me most of the time. And it all starts because they're in business and they have a terrible time with sales. Have you ever had a hard time with sales? If you're in your business, it's like, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to be rejected. I don't feel good about it. So with my PhD, that gives me an opportunity to work with someone so that they can learn to understand how they think about things. And Wayne Dyer, I worked with him on Maui for quite some time, 5 years actually, and Ram Dass. And he had this great saying that said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And a perfect example is this whole year we've been going through, right? This crazy year. And it's like we don't know which twist or turn is going to happen next. I've never talked to so many unsettled people. And it's because the foundation has been shaken around them. And they're stuck at home. They're stuck at home with family. They're stuck at home with their husbands. I was just talking to someone today that said, oh my God, I don't know if I could stand another day of this. Even when I go to the beach, I have to take them with me. So they're having a hard time, particularly the women. Oh my gosh, the women are having such a rough time. And those who are in business are now learning how to do everything virtually. So it's very different. And I'm used to standing on stage. This is all really different where we speak online all the time now. And it's kind of nice because we don't have to travel. This is that change the way you look at things. We don't have to travel. We don't have to buy a meal while we're out, spend our gas. Everything became so much less expensive because we don't have anything to spend money on. We don't get to go to the events we used to go to. And go to sports events that we used to go to. Everything's changed. And that's what I mean about the foundation has been shaken. And I just want to start you off by looking at COVID a little bit, if I may. And let's change the way we look at this. This has given us a chance to connect more so with our family. And I often say to my clients, weren't you wishing to have less work time and more time with family? And look what you got. You all got your wish. You have plenty of time with family now. So we have to be careful what we wish for, right? That's the thing. But you can take almost anything that you are experiencing and turn it around and say, what's good about this? And that's what happened to me. There was a time in my life when I stood in front of a dumpster with my two little boys' hands in my hands and only 15 cents in my pocket. And we were actually living on the beach in a little tiny 18-foot trailer. You can imagine how small that is. And I had no money, I didn't have a job, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then somebody said to me, you know, on Tuesday morning, if you get to this specific grocery store at 6:30 in the morning, they throw all their watermelons in the dumpster. And you'd probably love to get a watermelon because it tastes so good, and I'm sure you haven't had one all year because they're not that inexpensive. So I said to my boys, and they were very young. They were only, what were they, 5 and about 3 at the time. And I said, what do you think about some watermelon? I know you're tired of rice and beans because I'm tired of it. So let's go get some watermelon. So we went that morning, and I'm standing there in front of this big green dumpster, and I look over on my left, and there's all these people coming out from under the bridge and lining up to get a watermelon out of the dumpster. And one at a time, they were diving in. And suddenly I said to my oldest son, I said, this is strange. Why doesn't one person dive in and hand the watermelons out to everybody? Why does everybody have to try and get into the dumpster? And just then I heard this message from the ethers that says, that is the sign of a leader. And you don't belong here. And at the same time, my oldest son said, you know what, I don't need this watermelon. I'm fine with rice and beans. I'd rather play on the beach. I don't want to wait for all this to happen. And when we went back, I agreed with him because there was no way I was crawling in and out of that dumpster. Or could I even identify with all these people? I had already built one business, and the only reason that I was there was because I had a situation with a husband, and husbands take you down faster than you could possibly imagine. But I learned a lot. Oh, I learned so much. So I went back to the trailer, and I could see them out the window playing with the seagulls out there and building sandcastles and whatnot. And I started to write on my yellow pad. And I realized as I was downloading this information, a lot of it's in my book, Selling Through Your Heart, that you really have to change the way you look at things. You have to think about what you've done in the past to cause other people unhappiness. Because I'm going to be honest with you, as the doctor that I am, it all comes from within. Everything that happens to us is all about our perception and how we see it. I want you to really think about that. Because we make the same mistakes over and over and over. And have you noticed in your life, this one thing keeps showing up again and again? Somebody I was talking to just this morning said, I keep running away from everything. And I said, why do you suppose that is? And she said, I don't know. I just keep running away from everything. And so as we did her consult, I found out, and it always goes back between the ages of 2 and 7, something happens in your life that creates that repetitive cycle, that same mistake over and over again. And it's not until we go, all right, I got it, I don't want to do this again, that it will finally stop. But I got to tell you, you will be tested again just to see if you really got it. So as we dove back down into Her age between 2 and 7, I mean, we did it just like that. Takes no time at all, because I don't like hanging out in the childhood and all of that. I don't do that. We found out that her father had left at an early age. She was 3 years old. Her father left. And what ticked in with her was abandonment and betrayal. And as a result of that abandonment and betrayal, she runs away when the going gets tough so that they don't abandon and betray her. So if you look at the scenario that keeps repeating in your life, and you go back to that age between 2 and 7 and figure out what happened at that time that triggers that scenario. And if you need some help doing that, I'll be happy to do that. I offer it to you as my gift, and Stephanie will take care of that. But I just want you to notice that whatever that repeat is, even if you get married 4 times or whatever it is, what is it that's driving you to do that? What is it in the back of your mind that keeps making you repeat that same mistake over and over again? And believe me, it's not really a mistake. It's not a bad thing. It's an opportunity for you to learn once again until you get it. That's why it keeps reappearing. And some people say to me, oh, I've done so much work on this. I've done this and I've done that and I've done the other thing. But I ask always, have you pulled it out of your cells? And they don't even know what I'm talking about, because these modalities that they work with are all for this. It's all for the mind. And a lot of times it doesn't last. I don't know if you notice that. It just doesn't last. It feels good for a little while, but it doesn't stick. And because it doesn't stick, then it comes back and repeats once again. So if you think about this one scenario, and it could be different people, different situations, but the basis is always the same. You may say to yourself, I feel it in my solar plexus. It feels like something's stuck in my craw, and I can't get it out. I don't know what to do to get it out. These are the negative emotions that have ramped up over and over and over again since that happened when you were a child. And it's all based on a defense mechanism. So let's talk about this briefly. So what happens? You have these little feelers that are sitting on your shoulders, and they're listening for what somebody says, they're listening for what somebody does. And as in the case of this woman I'm talking about, her feelers were looking for a possible abandonment, right? Because that was her thing. And then they say, okay, time to leave, I gotta go now. That's what all our feelers do, only they're looking out for whatever it is that we are here to learn in this lifetime. That's what they're watching for. And what happens is when they win, your mind takes over, and then you do what you've done every other time. A lot of people run away. Some people dive in and try and get it all worked out, and they can't because the other person won't respond. There's all different ways. And if you think about it, you may react like the 2-year-old that received that first challenge in your life. That's the 2-year-old that we can't seem to let go until we get this out of ourselves. This doesn't do it, because you know yourself, the mind is extremely fickle. 1 minute it'll agree with you and say, yeah, you said the right thing to that person. And then a week later it'll say, well, maybe you shouldn't have been so harsh. Have you noticed that? How your mind will go back and forth. And then what's even worse is once you said it, it repeats in your mind and over and over and over. And it even repeats when you're trying to sleep. And it'll wake you up at 2 a.m. with this repetition going on. And then you go, I can't even sleep. I'm so stressed. I got all this anxiety. Well, it can all be removed. Those are all the negative emotions that are protecting you. And we have to be grateful for them, but we also have to let them go on their way so that you don't have to keep dealing with them and repeating this same challenge over and over again. I hope this is making sense. So I'm going to tell you something that's a little different, because once you offload these negative emotions, then you're open to the ethers. You're guided by the ethers. So if you ever wanted to be more connected to God or spirit or the universe or whatever you care to call it, this is how to do it, because you have to get rid of that inner emotion, because it's all negative. We keep the positive ones and let the negative ones go, thank them for what they've done for us to protect us all these years. But the reality is the 2-year-old is running the show. That's the problem that we all have, is we let the 2-year-old run the show. And the 2-year-old needs to be released, because he or she looks at things very differently than an adult would look at it. So let me tell you how that, just give you an idea. So most people run on intellect. Now, what do I mean by that? Intellect. Things we know, like how to text. We were taught how to text, so that's our intellect. We were taught how to cook. That's our intellect. We were taught how to use a computer. That's our intellect. It isn't until we remove all of this that we start working with our intelligence. And it's amazing what happens after we complete that, because suddenly money starts to rain in on you, because you've got the universe working with you instead of against you. You go, well, this opportunity came up. This might be a really good opportunity. I never would have seen this before. And more opportunities are brought to you because you're thinking from the intelligence and not the intellect. The intellect is like driving, right? You just get in the car and you do all those things you do in the car naturally, but you had to learn how to do it in the beginning. Each one of these things that is intellectual, you have to learn, and then it just gets into a routine, sort of like brushing your teeth. But when you're using your intelligence, you're asking, what should I do next? Is this the right thing for me to do? Should I work with this person or should I not? And then you have to know that whatever you are told, if you don't move through with it, then you don't get any more information. But it's that first thing of opening up, learning how to connect so that you can be guided, and then you're on your actual path that you came here to Earth to do. And one of my clients calls it soul surgery. I love that one. Because you actually, when you remove this, you can actually go in and talk to your soul and find out if you're on the right path, or if you need to veer off a little bit, or what's the best way to go. So it all is coupled together, and everything shifts inside of a month. That's the unbelievable part. And don't ask me how it works. I don't know. I'm just the conduit. And I will guide you through it, because I know what you're thinking. I know how it works for each and every individual. And I can only do it one person at a time. I tried to do a group. I couldn't handle that at all. So if you remove this, it changes everything in your life. It shifts your life completely. You're in a new dimension. And you have a tremendous amount of confidence. I think that's what I really love about it, is because I see people come out of their shell and they become so confident in what they're doing and so relaxed. And they don't get that repeat in their mind that keeps them awake all night. And their mind is no longer running the show, because they've shifted 18 inches down into their heart. They see people in an entirely different light. And that's really the gift. That's what I love about this, is seeing that in my clients. And I started out talking to you about sales in the beginning. Then they go back and they do sales and they're like, I don't care whether they say yes or no. I know who I am. I know what I have to offer. I'm completely confident in me. And that's all that matters. It also keeps you out of arguments, because I'm going to give you a little tip. Would you like a tip? If somebody says something you don't like, all you have to do is say, I can see how you might think that way. Thank you for sharing. That's all you have to say. It avoids all fights, And it gives them the ability to offer their opinion without you getting upset about it, because it's just the way they think. And that's one of the things that you learn, is that everybody has the right to think differently. Because can you imagine what it would be like if all of us thought the same way? Oh my gosh, I'd be so bored. And you probably would be too. But it's important. There's 3 things that you offer someone if you really want them in your life and you want them to trust you. And first of all, you have to be, they have to be seen. That's very important, is to let them be seen. A lot of us as kids were seen and not heard. And heard is very important too. We need to be heard because that's what builds our confidence. And let me just tell you right now also that ego is not such a bad thing. Don't try and throw your ego out, because you need it. I mean, people have written books about how to get rid of your ego, and I couldn't even be here right now if I didn't have some sense of ego so that I could talk to you. So being seen, being heard, and the third most important one is being respected. When you bring those 3 together, then you can love others and they can love you, because you really see them. You see who they are. And when you see them and you listen and you practice active listening, then suddenly you're saying to them, I hear you, I see you, I appreciate you. Just by those 3 things. But if you let any one of those 3 things down in our households today, then you've got an explosion, because suddenly they don't feel seen, heard, and respected. And that's particularly with men, ladies. Let me tell you, men need those 3 things. The minute you let go of one of those 3 things, it's over. It's totally over, and they'll be looking somewhere else. So keep that in mind. And if you really want to reduce your stress and your anxiety and fear and all that nightmare that's happening while you're in bed at night with your mind, get this stuff out of here and let it all go. And then you can be free to live the life the way you want to live life and experience life in ways that you never ever dreamt on. It's totally different. So when you want to talk about loving your relationships, it's all about relating with kindness and care and understanding. And we're only human, so just understand you're going to react. If there's something you don't like, you're going to react. That's just what you're going to do. There's nothing we can do about it. It's boom. But it's how quickly do you recoil and say, wow, that's what I had within me. That has nothing to do with them. So always remember, it's all about what's within you. It has nothing to do with them. Because if you think about the fact that every one of your neighbors thinks entirely different than you do, right? Entirely different than you do. So it's all your perception. Because if I went and told each neighbor something about what was going on, they would give me a different perspective. Everyone would give me a different perspective. And that's why a lot of women run to so many different women, is to get a different perspective. That's what we want in life, is a different perspective. But understand that you have a perspective too. And if you get upset and angry about something, it's all you. Nobody else. It's all you. No one else is to blame. No one else is in the picture at all. It's all about how you perceive what you are hearing from someone else. So always remember that. If you react, that's okay. That's only human. We're only human in having these emotions. And that's what we came here to learn about. But the reality is, you have to look within you and say, why do I think this way? Where does that come from? And then look within, right in here, say, what happened to me between 2 and 7 that's triggering this thing? I don't like it. I want to get it resolved. And then take the steps to make a difference in your life and get it out so you've got peace and confidence to live the rest of your life. Thanks so much, Stephanie.
Wow, thank you so much. That was absolutely phenomenal. I know I took a lot away from what you had to say tonight, so thank you so much, and
You're
thank you for
welcome.
all those who are joining us today on Empower Hour, at the meeting as well as on Facebook Live. We appreciate you, and we hope that you have a wonderful, beautiful night. So I'm going to just and there's Miss Esther. She says thank you. So
Blessing.